You still have heroes like the Ursa then, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ursa doesn't care too much for Mars. I'd say you have the option for Ricky, right? Like that's another big one that just
Absolutely.
ruins Mars. The backstab ruins your shield as well, so you don't really care for the bulwark. That's something they could look into here for the cut. Grimstroke does come out for SG Esports though, which makes initiating with Mars even that much more impactful. And we're gonna see like Blinken with Inkswell on top, then you follow up with your Lift Spear Arena. Lots of combinations can fly in. Even the Soulbind can make it tricky for something like the Marana or the Void Spirit to get out. We have seen that bind really cause issues, even if you don't have the best combinations here. I mean, you have double Fade Bolt, double Lift. At least that can be pretty annoying to deal with as well. So lots of value already for SG Esports. And the Grimstroke does give you a way of clearing out these Enchantress creeps with a Stroke of Fate. So if you clump them up a bit too tight, you can stop the push coming out from the Enchantress. It's a very clever way of kind of dealing with the summons on the Enchantress's end. Still probably not going to be bursted down early on, so you should still get a lot of value from the enchanted creeps anyway here for the cut.
Yeah, I mean, the Stroke of Fate, it's only one creep anyway. I don't think he's going to care too much. The cut, 4th pickup. Do you want to just go for your position 1 now? Would you rather just go for the position 3 and save the pos 1 till later? I mean, I was kind of leaning towards that Ricky that you did bring up earlier on. I think it is going to be quite strong up against the Mars. If they do go down that route. You may have some issues with pushing, though, as none of your heroes really push, apart from maybe the Ench, but even then, again, it's only one creep you get. They do go for the Beastmaster, however, and that does sort out the problems if they do want to pick up the Ricky as their final pick, but I dare say SG Esports will ban it out in the next ban phase, surely.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward pick for the cut that SG Esports should be able to read. I have to worry about picking Beastmaster into Rubik here. You already had value with Marana, with Void Spirit to a certain extent, with Enchantress. Stealing Enchant, it's not too bad. Stealing Roar is very easy for the Rubik, and then once you steal the Roar, you've got double Roar with a Grimstroke. So there's some options here for SG Esports to outplay the cut. If the cut aren't careful, they've got to be disciplined with the Roar. The Beastmaster needs to be aware of where the Rubik is, so he knows he can get the Roar off and maybe just summon some boars or toss the Wild Axes out immediately to prevent any big steals from happening. That's going to be devastating if SG Esports does get a good spot with the Rubik here.
That's a very good point, John. I mean, even the double Fade Bolt can be really annoying just on its own, but yeah, double Roar would be disastrous for the cut. Still, PA will be the pickup here for SG Esports. Still a very strong kind of position 1 to have. Doesn't exactly enjoy going up against the Beastmaster, but at the same time, it is one of those cores that can just sit back and throw daggers out and kind of clear out the creeps that way. Of course, the inbuilt evasion still going to be very nice up against the Beastmaster and all the units he does bring out. So really not too bad. And of course, you have a natural Battle Fury carrier now as well. So someone to really clear out those creep waves very nicely with that position 1 PA. So last ban outs now to come out. SG Esports getting rid of the Medusa. Fair enough. Not wanting to kind of get cheesed by a Medusa pickup. The Ricky does still seem quite like a valuable option. Apart from maybe the fact that you don't really want to pick up an MKB on the Ricky. That's the one issue I'm seeing here. He's not really one of those heroes. Like maybe a Divine if you go super late, but not early on. You wouldn't really want the MKB.
You don't necessarily need it against the PA as well because of how Tricks of the Trade works. You just apply the attack anyway, so PA into Ricky is actually not amazing for the PA, especially if you get smoke screened up without a BKB. You're stuck in a very bad spot just getting hit for free. And the Ags is still obnoxious despite the nerfs to duration, I believe. It's still really darn strong.
Still broken.
So it's still broken in the right hand. So I think the cut will probably still eye it. I mean, they take out the Alk last from SG Esports. They don't have room to pick up the Ricky themselves here as well. So there's really not much to worry about here for the cut if they want to pick it up.
Well, SG, final pick for them. And it will be the Kunkka.
Ooh.
All right.
This draft from SG Esports, it reminds me of Southeast Asia. I feel like we've seen, what was it? Among Us pick it up. You know, the Cuckoo stack. Pick this up a couple of times. We see a lot of teams go with Mars Kunkka. It's out there in SA as well, which is really surprising to see, but always nice to see as well. The durability Kunkka is going to give you here with the Mars, with a PA on top of the boat buff. It's going to be big. The boat arena is super easy to land. You've got double X coming into play here if you want to play around with that with the Grimstroke Soulbind. That can be very hard to run away from as well. So they've got good control for the Void Spirit now. They've got good ways of getting some big team fights out, and they can buy space out for that PA. The cut do go into the Troll Warlord instead, which is another way of kind of dealing with the PA. This is a natural MKB builder now as well, and can also build into the Battle Fury. So there's some options here for Scourge McDuck. We'll see if the Ags is something he prioritizes in this game, or whether or not he's going to want to run that straight Ags. You still have to worry about the team fights here on board SG Esports. I think 4DR's Kunkka should have a really decent time against Linux Void Spirit, although we have seen Void Spirit versus Kunkka not work out for the Kunkka. Like, Void Spirit has Resonant Pulse to spam out, which mitigates a lot of the harassment.
Yeah, but who beats Void Spirit, John? Who beats Void Spirit as a hero right now in that mid lane? Like, nobody beats it. Nobody.
No, I think was it only really the Puck that we've seen win against Void Spirit? I think it might have been just the Puck.
They even out. Yeah, they kind of just even out in the mid lane. Even Lena, you just even out. In fact, sometimes I've seen the Void Spirit just outright win because he just denies every creep away from that Lena. Still, I must admit, I do like the last pick. Troll obviously dominates the Mars and Rubik in lane. Obviously, assuming you don't get caught out with the Lift Spear, but even then, usually you are fairly safe. Two very interesting drafts, John. Do you have a favorite draft between these two?
Tough to say. There's a lot of back and forth. I think it's all down to how these team fights get executed. If SG Esports gets the jump in, they get the Soulbind, and if somehow Teal Decor manages to grab Roar, I think the cut is in for a bad time. They don't have as good AoE control. They only really have Roar and Remnant and the arrow combinations to take control in the team fight. So not as much wide control. And SG Esports, we know the pace they like to play. They love to play a fast game. They clump up early. They could just stick as 4 this time around to buy space out for Costabile and wait for him to get his Battle Fury up, BKB maybe on hand. And I think when it comes down to that execution, it's a lot easier to pull off what SG Esports has. Just hit level 6, run in with Arena, run in with the boat buff, and you don't have much to worry about. There's just not much in terms of counter fight that you do have on the cut beyond just roaring one target up.
Good luck, have funds are coming out. Little Nick. SG Esports.
Prepare for battle.
Dead silent. No, never mind. There you go.
There you go.
Tavo. Good sportsmanship.
I am disappointed no one else is greeting Dougie in the game. I request it every single time. I tell him, greet Dougie happy birthday. No one does. Our other casters do. And chat does. Remember, spam it to Mr. Dougie Bot. Let him know it's his birthday. Remind him of his ever-approaching doom as he ages up. But yeah, happy birthday, Mr. Dougie.
In the lobby, he was asked what he was getting for turning 23, and he just replied depression. So there you go.
His level 20 talent was depression, apparently. He got it a bit late. Some of us pick it up at 10. Some earlier, somehow. Just an inbuilt ability. But it is what it is,
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is. There we go. All right, so game number 1 between these two, SG Esports versus the Cart. We are going to have a quick pause as Tavo is currently disconnected. Now, John, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking back to the anime for season 1, and obviously we have the storyline of Davion, the Dragon Knight, and Mirana and whatever else, and Selemene is apparently a terrible priestess or goddess of the moon. I was thinking for season 2, because I'm going to assume there is going to be a season 2 because the anime is going to be amazing.
Bold, very bold.
What if we did the whole Rubik versus Aghanims storyline? Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
Yeah. That would be cool. Is it really Rubik versus Aghanims though?
Well, not versus, but you get my point. You could kind of add a story in there. He's not versus Aghanims, but it's his dad, and they've got some issues.
Yeah. There's some history there. I would love to see it. Honestly, I still feel like Aghanims as a concept is just kind of wasted on an event. They tease it. It came out. It was a pretty fun event.
It should have been a new hero, straight up. Aghanims should be a new hero.
And it wasn't. And that was the disappointing thing. We got Hoodwink instead, so the furries are happy.
Don't remind me. Don't.
Hey, we haven't had Hoodwink into the pro scene because it's not in CM. I am looking forward to that mess
No, you're
once
not.
it's back in.
No, you're
I'm
not, John.
looking forward to it. I'm just curious to see what happens. I want to see how bad the pubs get once pro players start doing some stuff with Hoodwink. It's already a mess with Hoodwink in pubs, mind you. So,
Oh, it
you know,
is.
it's going to be an even bigger mess once that's up. Still no scuffle around for these minute 0 bounty runes. No excitement here. Just going to pick it up. Both sides being conservative, although there is that clump up bot, but no one's going to stick their head out. Do start with our dual lane up top. Tingle King and Vol going to be around on the Beastmaster Mirana. And this is a lane that's not very fun to play against for SG Esports. You can just steadily shove it in. You got the hour to secure the range creep every time. PA is not going to be able to walk up and last hit because that's going to be painful for her. Is just going to be probably reliant on that stifling dagger. So far, although down bot, they are starting out with a bit of a tri lane. So KJ and Teolacor are going to look for that first blood, but it does look like Pingu is aware and isn't walking through the tree line.
Hey, he is aware. I doubt they get the kill, but they're going to keep him away from the lane, and that seems to be all SG Esports want. So the troll by himself is not going to have that much of an amazing time, especially if it is going to be Rubik Mars up against the troll. Poor old Pingu is just stuck by his tier 2 tower right now, as Theolacor will commit to just pulling the wave away and fixing up that equilibrium for his side. And KJ will just TP out. So they just really wanted to apply that pressure early on to ensure they get a big creep wave for Tavo. That'll allow him to hit level 2 early on as well. And of course, you burnt through a lot of regen there through Pingu.
Yeah, that's one way to kind of hold this Enchantress lane steady. Tavo did not find too many last hits, so can't really stop the troll from finding farm. So Scourge McDuck overall should still be fairly pleased with what he's finding for himself here. The issue is there's not a large creep camp for Pingu to take, although he did go for Impetus level 1. That's not as big of an issue. Still, we'll have to wait for the levels to build up. Does give us a chance to look down mid. 40R up against Lil Nick, the Kunkka versus the Void Spirit. You are seeing 40R this time around have a better start, 11-1, up against Lil Nick's 9-0. And Lil Nick did have to bring himself some additional regen. 40R does as well. Still has a lot more in hand. And when it comes down to the raw right-click trades, because 40R doesn't depend on mana to apply his harassment out, at some point Lil Nick is not going to be able to trade as well as he'd like here.
Absolutely not. 40R doing a really great job in that mid lane and not afraid whatsoever of the Void Spirit quite yet, just trying to be very aggressive on that Kunkka. So that gives us time to have a look at the top lane. We do have Costabile and KJ up against Tingle King and Vol. Now, I know you already said this during the draft, but I've got to give props to the cut for not getting any kind of roster changes happening prior to Season 2. A lot of teams out there have been doing some roster changes, and it kind of upsets me a little bit. As Costabile, gonna blink for the ball. I believe it was denied by the Beastmaster. Of course, Vol with the arrow did not quite land. Vol needs to be pretty careful here, as Costabile can just jump in, but he will leap away.
Yeah, it's not the best time for Costabile still. You take a look at him out of regen, trying to ferry out the wand to sustain. They do still have a salve up on KJ, and KJ does have 2 mangoes as well to maintain harassment, but Tingle King is just taking steady control. We've seen him on the Beastmaster before. He does excel in it. The harassment is pumping out onto Costabile. It's just a bit much to deal with. So once they run out of the salve, we're going to have to look for KJ to ferry some additional regen out to hold this lane steady. And Vol, of course, is just doing Moran things. Being a nuisance, harassing out, getting the range creep. Does not have a camp to clear out yet, as that has been blocked out very nicely here. But it's still a hard lane for Costabile either way. You can see in the last hits, 12-3, a bit slower than what Scourge McDuck is getting down bot. And if this keeps up, it might be a slow build-up into the Battle Fury for RPA.
Look at this mid lane, though. Lil Nick, he's been on such low HP for a very long time. 40R just keeping him very, very low, not allowing him to feel comfortable whatsoever.
Invisibility.
Luckily for the mid lane of the cut, Pingu does get the Invis rune. 40R not allowed to bottle that up. See, if he got that rune as well, would have been an absolute disaster. But 40R, nice juke out on the stun. Still, he's being controlled up. Pingu's going to move in. No impetus shots yet. Still trying to get the damage out onto 40R, but he's going to be the one to go down. A great turret there from 40R. And Theolacor with a very nice rotation on the Rubik.
Yeah, they're getting some good punishment out for the sports, kind of trying to force a kill out, while Lil Nick was a bit too low to try to play himself, and he's going to be in trouble if he stays around too long here.
Dodges out the torrent. Theo, no lift. Can't really lock Lil Nick down, and of course Pingu is going to move his way in with the full bottle now. Nick even getting a salve, I believe, off Pingu. Just getting a full reset, but as you said, in terms of CS, he is struggling quite a bit, and it's not going to get much easier because the levels are going up on 4DR. And that Tidebringer is really starting to hurt. It's just very difficult, even in this day and age, to lane up against this Kunkka.
Yeah, and it's a rough time as well, as they do not manage to secure the bounties on Lil Nick. So that hurts his bottle refill once more. He lost his bounty and his triangle. So 4DR, it doesn't matter as much. I mean, yeah, he's down to 1 bottle charge, but he can always XTP home. And that's something he's been abusing for a while. Has level 6 on the Kunkka, so he could look for a side lane rotation if need be. But he could also just choose to keep controlling that Void Spirit. And a Void Spirit that doesn't get off to a running start can have a pretty gnarly time recovering if he doesn't find some kills.
That's a great Aether Remnant out from Lil Nick. He's still not level 6, but he'll get it now with this Siege Creep down. 4DR wanting to take full advantage while he was level 5, but that Aether Remnant just buying him just enough time to not get hit by that boat. Every lane still going relatively smoothly for either side. Very, very close game, just less than 1k net worth lead 6 minutes in. 4DR still not making any moves in the Kunkka, but I'd say you are still very happy to just keep dominating the lane. Like, if you're going to be able to freely farm up like this in the Kunkka, you may as well just take the free farm.
Yeah, I mean, the side lanes are doing fine anyway. There's not much threat happening. Neither side's really poking the bear just yet. You are seeing SG Esports find a lot more last hits now. So you can look at Tavo, 34-5, ahead of Scourge McDuck at 33-5. Even Costa Bile, considering that slower start, is up to 36-6 compared to Scourge McDuck at 34-6. So overall, I think SG Esports have held onto their lanes quite well. The cut, not really able to get that early aggression that you'd expect with, say, an Enchantress, with a Beastmaster Mirana. The rotations coming out from Vol not quite lining up yet down mid. And with this kind of start, SG Esports are just allowed to stack up. You can see KJ working that jungle quite nicely. A couple of double stacks there to clear out. Kunkka's going to make short work of that. And there is that smoke up now with level 7 and 4DR.
Well, Vol may be the unfortunate target. Smoke will break on Vol, but no, Tingle, he did not spot this out, so he's going to be targeted instead. Torrent connects. No boat necessary. They don't have the X left for Vol, but he's already used all his leap charges to try and secure the kill onto the Grimstroke, but it will cost him his own life. Definitely a very nice rotation there from SG Esports. However, mid lane, Theolacore in danger, but the TP rotations are coming in. He's still alive. The Astral Step did not connect, but he will eventually go down to Pingu with the Hellbear Smasher. The rotations in from SG Esports may lead to an Enchantress kill. The Torrent does connect. Arena going to be committed. They really want the kill, and they will get it. Tavo able to pick it up on the Mars.
That's really efficient coming out from 4DR as well. Goes to the edge of the arena, flips the creeps instead, so he farms while trying to get that kill. Really good use of their time, although up top they are getting a bit of a chase, but Costa Bile does not get clipped, and the PA still somewhat okay. Like, that was a 3-man rotation up, doesn't find a kill, and Costa Bile just gets to go back, relax, regen up with a Ring of Health, and wait for a rotation back in.
KJ, smoke broken, 4DR right behind him. They're happy to fight with the boat, but the arrow does land, and that just blows up KJ. Now the boats are come in straight onto Tingle King, and he should just blow up, and does. Costa Bile going to be able to blink away in 4DR. He's not really afraid right now. He's just so darn tanky with those 2 braces. They're going to go back in onto Vol, who has a leap in 1 second, but it's probably not going to be enough, as Costa Bile is able to blink in. Once again, the exchange up at the top lane does favor SG Esports.
And they're starting to build up a bit of a lead here. 3-6 on the scoreboard. 1k lead for SG Esports. At the least, Lil Nick does get a bottle refill from the TP in, but he hasn't found as much off the map with his power spike on the Void Spirit. He's just not able to combat that tankiness, and when we talked about the Kunkka providing the tankiness at the start, it's a bit too much to deal with right now for the cut. The one thing they are getting out of this, though, is free farm for Scourge McDuck. So he's number 2 in net worth right now, ahead of our PA by just a tad. He is going for a Maelstrom build, on this troll rather than going for the Battle Fury build. So it looks like they want to start getting some early fights out once they have that up instead of just focusing in on the farm as much. And that should be an interesting case of whether or not Scourge McDuck will be enough to turn the tide here. They are getting a good push up top. Beastmaster can clear these objectives quick, and SG Esports aren't quite lined up to find their own objective just yet.
Would you believe it, John? I just got bitten by a spider as you were talking.
What? How?
What do you mean what? It's Australia. I get bitten by spiders all the time when we're casting. I just don't say anything.
What? Was it a big huntsman?
No, it's not going to be afraid
Oh,
about
God.
John. Do nothing. We're basically immune to the venom anyway. It's all
It's all
good.
I know, from the Philippines, I'm used to being bit by mosquitoes, being bit by random flying bugs, but spiders, for me, when you get bitten by a spider, it's like a poisonous one, Big ones.
No. Not all the time. I mean, it definitely can be, but regardless of that, up in the dire jungle, Moonlight Shadow going to be popped. Stabile just going to take out a ball for his trouble. They're not quite able to catch anyone out. Tingle, he's going to be able to allow the TP away. Mid lane though, 4DR starting a team fight. They do have the troll, but Scourge McDuck, he popped the battle trance to try and fight it out, but it's not going to work out. Does go down. That's a pretty big pick off for SG Esports. This 4DR looking for more now. Has the X up in 1 second. Does get Pingu. He has help from the backside. Still a lot of damage coming in from 4DR, but the Roar does fly out now. Lil Nick is around with Vol. They lock down 4DR and they take him down. I think that's one thing that SG need to be a little bit careful about, is to not underestimate the teamfight potential or even the pick-off potential from the cut.
Yeah, they've got a lot of single target control, especially if they commit that roar, so they can kind of turn it around, get the punishment out. You are still in a pretty good spot here as SG Esports. They've got the arena if they need to force it out for the defensive mid, and they do want to hold on to that mid tier 1. Their jungle is still being invaded though. The cut are just keeping an eye up there, constantly getting some D wards down, keeping track of these camps, but they're not able to clear them. And the cut, Scourge McDuck is just saving up for his BKB. That should be the time when he starts showing up more to these fights. But SG Esports are fine with a slower pace. Battle Fury almost up for Costabile. Just about 500 gold away. And once you have that up in the PA, she will start to take over even more, as Scourge McDuck is already lagging behind compared to that PA.
Certainly so.
Didn't want that. Dire's top tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom
I think it does favor the cut to just slow down here and buy some more time. So you at least want that Yule Scepter up on Lil Nick to be able to really get active and start getting those pickoffs as a team. I mean, you even look at Tingle King. Still doesn't have the Necro 3 book up.
Dire's top
He's trying to make the push happen up that top lane. Just using the Siege Creep for now. Does eventually pop the Necro 2. But Tavo, of course, will rotate straight away on the Mars and make sure they defend it. Overall, still less than a 1k net worth lead, so it does feel like anyone's game. Main concern, though, is the fact that Costabile does have the Battle Fury on the way. And that is going to escalate his farm quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you're just not going to match up with a troll with Maelstrom. Like, he can still clear camps fast. It's not going to be as fast and mobile as a PA. Still, they do Moonlight Shadow. They want to surround top.
Tavo, roared up. Tingle going to try and go for this kill, but Tavo's pretty tanky. Arrow does connect. They have plenty of disable for him, but he is still not dead. Eventually, he will go down. Even Thea Lacour dropping to Lil Nick in the mid lane. Now, the rotation back in from 4DR with the boat out, straight onto the Beastmaster. That'll be Tingle gone. So they do at least get a position 3 trade. It still seems to favor the cut, assuming they can get everyone out of here.
there is little hope for Dire.
Yeah, it looks like they will. Pretty good response out from SG to at least find some punishment, but their mid was being shoved in just a tad. Scourge McDuck was there trying to get some damage off. Not quite enough to take it out, though. Still, SG Esports are looking sharp. They've got the armlet up on 4DR, so it's harder to kill him off, and he's just being aggressive here.
Yeah. So Nick, double damage rune is going to wear off. Team's just going to respect each other and back out. Of course, if you are SG Esports with a PA late game, you're not worried about taking this super late if you have to. You're more than happy to, in fact. The Troll, while he can transition to the late game, he's not going to be anywhere near as dangerous as, say, the Phantom Assassin. Much more scary on the side of SG. Speaking of, they've smoked up. Towards the top lane they go.
They could find Tingle King again.
Oh, gonna break the smoke. Tingle's still around. He might try to come and help out, but no. Tavo's gonna run straight into him now with a nice arena. Catching out the Beastmaster, the Roar is gonna be there. Still the Inkswell does land, and the boat will come in from 4DR. Now the Soulbind. Scourge McDuck gonna move his way in along with Lil Nick. They're gonna try and catch out this Kunkka with a nice Aether Remnant into an arrow, but can they get through the Raw HB? 4DR with the armlet toggles might be able to survive, but no. Does go down. Theolacore with the TB is not going to make it out either. Scourge McDuck able to take the kill, and suddenly the cut. They've got a bit of momentum behind them, John. They're looking good.
Yeah, it's 9-9 now. Less than 1k lead coming out for the cut. There is still a lot of farm flying onto Costabile, and he's still saving up for that BKB. But the cut, they want to play fast. They need to clear out these towers quick. They do not want to play that farming game. So they're applying pressure on that top tier 2. Without the Beastmaster, it's not as quick, but they still get the job done. So they have control on that top jungle. They've already got these forward wards watching the entrance, and they can start to take control of that part of the map. They take the outpost as well, and you can't quite do the same here for SG Esports, as none of these tier 2s are dropping just yet.
Tavo. He's not expecting this one, John. Scourge going to show himself now with the whirling axes. Tavo going to try and juke out with the tree line. Spears away the Troll, but Pingu's going to come in. They have plenty of control for the Mars. 1k net worth lead now, switching the way to the Radiant. You've still got Costabile farming very nicely on that PA, but now he's being chased down. Tingle, he has the Roar up with the Blur. He's going to buy just enough time for him to get out, and Tingle, not getting the initial Roar, does not want to go any further.
Yeah, it's a bit far from the rest of his team. TP's in would have taken a bit long for the follow-up. Might have had enough damage anyway, but the rest of SG Esports was right behind, so it would have been a pretty scary way to commit in. And they should start to set their eyes down mid. That mid tier 1, only 100 HP. Little Nick.
40R, been stunned up by a 5-second arrow. Raw will fly in as well. They've got the Mars. Tavo eventually going to drop the arena down. The boats are flying as well. Tingle, he's copying a lot of damage here, but he's still alive as 4DR. He's the one being chased down by Little Nick. Can they take him out? Not quite yet, but Bo is on the chase. Still the armlet toggles, keeping alive the Kunkka. The arrow is not going to connect either, but they will at least get a consolation prize in KJ. A 3-for-0 trade, almost a 4-for-0. In fact, it may be a 4-for-0 as they found an even bigger target, Costabile. He's stuck around to try and farm, but it's going to cost him his life as they dive the tier 2 tower, and suddenly the cut. My oh my, it was a rough laning stage, but after that laning stage, they're off to a great game.
Yeah, and it's down to the fact that Scourge McDuck is able to fight a lot earlier. Because of that Maelstrom, he can pierce through some of that evasion with every lightning proc. So it really is all about playing aggressively with these pickups. They've got the early BKB now on the Troll, and of course, seeing that it's a Troll and Beastmaster, the Roche will not last long. So SG Esports, they're going to have to give away this first Roche. They are making their way down there. It's just not fast enough.
Very nice Roshan play here from the cut. This is what they were famous for in the lower division of the NADPC, just putting a pace on the enemy team that they can't keep up with. We've seen this over and over again from the cut, and they just seem to be replicating that same sort of play style. They do move into the die triangle now, and KJ just trying to get a D ward out, but it's going to cost him his own life. The triangle is now officially theirs. Little Nick is still looking for more. That double damage rune, just a bit more time on it. But instead, the tier 2 mid tower looks like free pickings for the cut.
Yeah, not to be something that SG Esports are in a position to contest. So they are down 2 lanes now. Only the bot lane still stands with tier 1. But Scourge McDuck for the Aegis with a fresh BKB is just going to threaten here, and well, not going to fully commit, as there is a lot of fight left in SG Esports. They will play it safe. There are some nice stacks to steal away, so why not just take them?
Absolutely. those are tier 2 neutral items up.
Radiant's top tower is
Master Bile, he's just going to try and split push the top lane and work towards his BKB. Seems like he feels the necessity to have it up to be able to fight with this team. Doesn't really have the room for a Desolator right now.
Radiant scan.
Nice scan out from the cut as well. They scan out the smoke. Little Nick is going to get used up. Arena going to be dropping a nice Dissimulate. Has the haste rune, so he should be able to just counter-initiate now, and he does indeed, right onto Tavo. Tavo just trying to survive the best he can, but there's no way to survive. Does die now, an arrow onto KJ, perfect from Vol. Even Thea Lacour going down to Tingle King. Just kills all across the map here for the cut. As 40R even getting caught out now by Lil Nick. 8th the Remnant, gonna hold him down. The rest of the team is making their way up towards 40R. This should be a dead Kunkka coming out. He tries the boat, he'll try for the TP, but a nice arrow once again from Vol. It's the kind of coordination you love to see from the cut over and over again.
Oh yeah, and this is what sets the cut apart from the other NA teams that we've seen so far. Again, they've stuck together. So that chemistry they had, the communication lines they've had before are still in play. Much easier to pull off some of these movements off. And still holding on to the Aegis.
He's feeling himself, John, right back in onto Tavo with a great arrow out from Vol to follow up, and they should have the damage. Right onto the tier 3 tower they go, but Scourge, he's dropping very low now, might lose the Aegis, but they're going to go for the dive anyway. That Scourge, he'll stick around. Dagger not going to crit. They have the heal from the Enchantress to slowly bring him back up. Has the Battle Trance anyway in case he needs a secondary life.
Oh.
They'll get the first one. Still a BKB and Battle Trance though. But they'll leave the melee barracks. They're not going to risk it any further. They'll do with the range.
Yeah, I mean, not quite as safe without that Aegis. There's still a fresh BKB up on Costabile as well. So fighting into the PA might not be the best of the ideas. They need to commit the roar now if they want to lock that hero in. Still, SG Esports should know they've got an opportunity. They are clumped up, but they don't have a smoke. So they're just going to be walking in a bit blind. That could be an opportunity for the cut if they want to play aggressive here.
Costabile doesn't want to die like this. Tingle looking for a way into roar. Arrow, not going to scout out much. But they know exactly where SG Esports are.
is under attack.
What do you do if you're SG now? Like, you've got this BKB timing on the PA, but it still feels like she's lacking quite a bit of damage without the Deso up.
Yeah, it's not an easy time. Like, the PA as well doesn't love fighting into Troll because the missed chances make the PA damage output just shoots all the way down if she doesn't play it right around her swirling axis. So have to have a lot of caution here in Costabile. They do at least force the push away. They're never going to be able to commit for this set of melee racks just yet, but the cut will smoke up trying to find a pickoff.
That they will. They might run into Thea Lacour, who showed on the map for a second, but he is going to TP out. Instead, they may have to settle for the bot tier 1, or they could go after Costabile, who did not back off after that roar came out. BKB comes in from the troll. They should be able to burst him down in time, but no, he's still alive. Costabile is going to blink away and survive for another day, but 4DR may not be so lucky as he's been caught out and ensnared by Scourge McDuck, who's on a monster kill streak. Even having the blink dagger up now to make sure he can close the distance between him and his opponents.
Yeah, and that was really down to the fact that Thea Lacour this time around did manage to steal the Primal Roar. They didn't land a combination with Soulbind though. He let go of the Roar before the bind was on. If they did get the bind off, they might have been able to punish Lil Nick for jumping in. They do smoke up though.
They do. Lil Nick with the Aghanim Scepter, happy to jump back in with the Dissimulate. Right back onto Thea Lacour, bursting down the Rubik. Now KJ going to be focused down by Scourge McDuck. The silence does not bother the troll at all as Tavo in massive danger and is going to die. Oh boy. Very dominant so far from the cut. 15k net worth lead now, and it's getting very hard to see SG Esports being able to make a comeback.
No, and they need to wait for the next arena for their next big fight. Fortunately, when the respawns do come out, arena's going to be up. We've got the boat buff as well to come out. They just lack damage. There's just not enough in Costabile. Still trying to save up for the Basher. Is trying to position behind to jump in, but a bit risky right now.
Certainly is. You would have loved to see that double damage rune down to the bot rune spot, but he did not. And with that, 2 lanes of barracks will go to the way of the cut.
Closer to the enemy agent.
SG not out of this game yet. They just need to buy more time. You can see Costabile actually just saying, screw the Deso, I want the Basher. Maybe feeling like he needs a bit more control.
Dire are scanning for enemies.
The prize is mine.
Run into Pingu. Should be a nice easy pick off on the Enchantress, but no, they didn't actually spot him out. Pingu's going to be able to walk out just fine. I guess if you can get to the point where you have a Basher into an Abyssal, straight after that you may as well just go Divine on Costabile. At that point, you probably have a decent enough chance.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of farm to hit that mark. Costabile does not have much of a map to farm up in, and the cut just never rests. They smoke, they Moonlight Shadow, they just want to keep running.
They've got the MKB as well. Costabile may not be expecting this as they jump in straight into the backlines again. They've got the Grimstroke KJ. He's already down 4DR. Even with the boat rum, it's just not helping enough. Straight onto the PA now. Costabile pops the BKB, but can he survive through it? Not quite. He dies mid-TB. An ultra kill out for Scourge McDuck, and they'll call the GG as Scourge does not get the Rampage, but it won't matter. They get something even better, and that's the first game victory.
That is a domineering start for the cut, taking that first game out. SG Esports not having a fantastic start. They're closer with the Kunkka, had a good time up against Little Nick's Void Spirit, but there was not enough that 4DR could do. Like, the couple of rotations he did have looked good, then it just started to feel like they slipped up. This fast build-up from Scourge McDuck, going for the Maelstrom first to get some damage on, to have a way to deal with the PA in case Costabile joined the fights, really provided enough firepower from the cut to maintain that aggression, along with a push that Tingle King was giving them with Beastmaster, and the sustain Pingu had, just formed this nice death ball of a lineup that it looks like SG Esports wasn't quite ready for. We were also looking for a TL Core to maybe snag a couple of roars, and he had some opportunities early on, but he was too far out. He only managed to steal it once, and they couldn't land the Soulbind combination to counterplay as well. So without that execution, which is, to be fair, hard to pull off, SG Esports just couldn't manage to find those opportunities as well as they would have liked in this game.
I mean, it may have been a case of they may have underestimated the cut because they just thought maybe lower division team, you know, we're an upper division team who came third. Perhaps that was the case. I'm not 100% sure what the comms were like on SG Esports side. But we'll see how they switch it up in game number 2, which should be coming up in roughly 10 minutes. Till then, it's MLP Dota and johnxfire. We'll see you all again after that break for some more great Dota 2 action. See you then.